Public Safety meeting in order. Let's see. Yeah, all members are present, and we did have a meeting 2 weeks ago. Can we get approval of those minutes, please?
Motion for approval.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, moving forward. All right, we have two new pieces in front of us today. First piece, authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept a grant from the Howland Memorial Fund grant to support the REACH program of the Akron Fire Department, authorizing the expenditure of funds and provision of services consistent with the grant and REACH program and declaring an emergency. Today we have District Chief Natko with us and our Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, Charlie Brown.
Thank you, Councilman Kamer. Chief Natko can answer any questions about this great opportunity for us to continue to care for the citizens that we serve in our city.
All right, thank you.
The REACH program is something new to Akron Fire. We launched the program back in August of last year, and our intent is to help out the citizens of Akron prior to them calling for us. So we currently have 70 clients in our program. That represents actually almost 1,100 calls, 911 calls, since the program began. Those 70 clients do. And some of those clients are high utilizers. Some of those clients are folks that were referred to us because of a vast need that they have for us to not necessarily care for them, but to provide for them a bridge to another type of help, social services. We've developed a lot of relationships with other agencies for this program. The funds that came to us just recently from the Howland Memorial Fund are something that are dedicated to be used towards this program. We have not decided yet how we would like to use those funds, but when we do decide, it will be a careful decision. Things like training for the team, possibly equipment to install in the homes, such as fall grab bars, fall protection, things like that, anything that can help that citizen. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's kind of the jewel of the fire department. We are extremely proud of it, and it is growing by leaps and bounds.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate it, Chief. Any questions from committee members? Comments from, Councilman Malik, sorry.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you both and commend you on this program. I know that we had a representative from the fire department come and speak at one of the Ward 8 meetings last year, and the enthusiasm and energy that they brought to the meeting was infectious, and you could see that the residents really appreciated and responded to it. And I think that this kind of preventative, you guys really in a lot of ways are a healthcare provider in people's most difficult moments, and to the extent that we can reduce the emergencies with preventative work is wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Swirsky, please.
Yeah, I also want to thank you. You guys had a speaker at my ward meeting. There was a woman who was in the audience who was, she was planning to give me a hard time. Once she heard your program, she got in such a good mood. It changed her whole mood. She said, I'll ask you about that later. So I just want to thank you on two levels. But the citizens in my meeting also, as Sean was talking about, I mean, they really appreciated that effort. And she was an elderly person who had some medical issues. Her husband had gone through that. So it kind of sent a message to her and other people in the room. There's a lot of care going into preparing for situations that you may be experiencing. And so thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Council members in chambers, I see a hand. Oh, Linda Mobian.
Just curious, with the population of seniors growing, how do you decide, if you decide to do equipment, whose home you'll be installing it in?
We haven't turned anybody away. So right now, our decisions have been based upon some of our run volume. Who have we seen most often over the past 12 months? That's actually how we started our program. We took those numbers were just amazing. One individual might have called us 50 times in a year. So, for instance, that individual would go on our list of who we would go see. That's one means. We also go by individual referrals. If one of our paramedics come to us and say, hey, we found a home that we think you need to do some looking into, we'll enter that person into the program. We're listening to the hospitals. If the hospitals discharge somebody and they feel this person could use our services, that's somebody that goes to our program. If somebody just calls us out of the blue and asks for a visit, we'll go visit that person. So as word gathers, as we speak at council meetings, ward meetings, wherever we can spread our word, we spread it, and it just in turn dominoes where we will see more folks calling us. So it's growing, and the funds will be well used.
Good, thank you. Any other questions or comments, council members? Is this something for consent agenda, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Consent agenda is fine, thank you.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor for consent agenda? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, thank you for coming down. We'll put that on the consent agenda. Our next piece, authorizing the Director of Law to enter into a contract with the Summit County Public Defender Commission to provide legal services for indigent defendants in Akron Municipal Court in accordance with the requirements of the Constitution of the United States with respect to the provision of legal representation to indigent defendants and declare an emergency. And we have from our City Law Department, Brian Bremer.
Thank you. This is a piece of annual legislation that comes in where we enter into a contract with the Legal Defender's Office of Summit County to provide legal services to indigent individuals who are charged with misdemeanors in the Akron Municipal Court. The Summit County also is also a party to this agreement. They have their own separate one, but this one is for our portion of the costs, which this year will be $660,000 would be the maximum output in this under this agreement, which is about $200,000 more than what it was last year. Some of the basis for that is the fact that the state has actually has increased the reimbursement rate for these services, so that this cost, even though we're having more of an outlay under the agreement, we will receive a greater reimbursement than we have in years past. And my understanding is that we are not going to be spending more money at the end of the day than we were last year. It actually ends up being, I think it'll be a little bit less even under the contract given the reimbursement rate, which is going from 50% to 70%.
Okay, good.
And if Director Kodish from the Summit County Legal Defender's Office is here, if you would like to hear from him.
I would love for him to take a few minutes to talk to us, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm making my annual appearance here. So for those of you who are new, what we do, we have a staff of 12 attorneys plus myself plus support staff and some legal interns. We represent indigent clients who are appointed by the municipal courts of Barberton, Akron, and Stowe. They fill out a poverty affidavit and then they send the case to us and we make an appearance on their behalf. And we do what we have to do to represent these clients. So they're all basically qualified and are in compliance with the indigency standards set forth by the state. So this year, due to the increase of 70% reimbursement, which by the way is supposed to go up to 90% next year. Actually, they started this reimbursement process, I'm told, this past October, so even from last year's contract, the city is getting reimbursed more. I think, and basically, that's our position. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'd be happy to respond.
Good, thank you. Questions? We have Councilman Swirsky with his hand up.
Well,
Please.
question and a comment. How many citizens are served? How many customers, clients?
In Akron Municipal Court, city ordinances, we do about 5,000 cases a year. Our overall caseload varies from 10 to 12,000. And we also, I have 6 attorneys in Akron Muni Court, 1 in Barberton, 1 in Stowe, and 3 in juvenile court. 3.5, actually. I have 1 person that does arraignments in juvenile court.
And I just want to make a quick comment. I mean, I just want to recognize your dedication and longevity of the organization's commitment and service to serving the poor. At times, those topics, from the speaker, from where you are now, people address that topic. But actually, you're actually doing something about it, and really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
You are an everyday hero that you and your colleagues are everyday heroes that don't often get recognized.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Good. Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Councilwoman Amobian?
I'm not sure if this covers evictions. Do you represent individuals?
We do only criminal cases. We do not do civil cases, which are evictions, so.
Do we have representation for those individuals? We do not. That was one of the things we heard when we
I
heard
think
about the
legal
high
aid may
eviction
do
rate.
some.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other questions or comments from council members? All right, with that, what's your pleasure, Brian? What are you thinking?
Consent agenda would be
Consent
okay.
agenda? Okay, members of council or the committee?
Okay. Make a motion for consent.
I have a motion, and I have a second from Councilman Malik. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, thanks for coming down. I appreciate it, sir, and we're adjourned. Thanks.